Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here. So I, as just mentioned, I lead the WBCSD's work on ecosystems, and my presentation will really focus on a project that we've got at WBCSD, which aims to trigger more business investment in ecosystems, or natural infrastructure as we call them. And there's a link to valuation, because actually valuation can help inform the decision-making process of companies when they hesitate on the type of infrastructures that they can invest in. But just a few words about the WBCSD. So we're a business organization of some 200 companies that share the same commitment to sustainability. Our objective is really to accelerate progress to a world where more sustainable companies are recognized, rewarded, and therefore more successful. So we do so by developing business solutions to sustainability challenges, by working on improving the business case for sustainability, and also by facilitating collaboration between business and all the other stakeholders. So we strongly believe that business has a key role, responsibility, and opportunity to play as a positive force in delivering and scaling up sustainable solutions to the world's most pressing environmental and social challenges. Why? Because actually companies cannot succeed in a society that fails. And also, it's clear that the cost of inaction now is getting higher than the cost of action. So what we've done over the past years, we've identified a number of targets that are societal ones, so related to ecosystems. As you can see, they are very much based on the Aichi biodiversity targets. And these are our overarching guidance or framework on which we base our work plan. And the idea is really that our work plan contributes to achieving these targets. So one of the projects we're working on aims to increase companies' investments in ecosystems so that more ecosystems are protected and are restored. But the thing is that when we talk about ecosystems, well, this notion of ecosystems, it doesn't resonate very well with the majority of companies. So for this project, we decided to talk about natural infrastructure. So the idea is to consider ecosystems as infrastructures that companies can invest in because, and they've got, some benefits out of these investments because they'll get a return in terms of all the services that this infrastructure or ecosystem provide. It could be water services, carbon sequestration services, etc. So the way we define natural or green infrastructure is really about the strategic use of natural ecosystems to provide benefits that substitute man-made physical infrastructure. So what does it mean concretely? It means that we want to get more companies to invest in oyster reefs, mangroves, etc., instead of investing in dikes or levees, seawalls. Or to get more companies to think of investing in wetlands and reedbeds to treat their wastewater instead of investing in traditional wastewater treatment facilities. And here on this picture, you can see actually the distillery of Bacardi, and they're using reedbeds to filter and to clean processed water. So why are these solutions relevant to business? It can really help them address risks. And companies are really facing increasing risks like floods or extreme weather-related events or droughts or etc. On this picture, so this picture has been taken in Thailand in 2011, and you may see that it's a Honda facility that was inundated during the big floods that happened at that time. And actually, at the end of 2011, the World Bank estimated that the damages of the floods reached about $45 billion US. And the majority of the damages were caused to the manufacturing industries, so automotive and also electronic industries. So companies will be facing increasingly these type of risks and disasters. And investing in natural infrastructure can, in fact, help protect their activities from these type of events. So it's really investing in natural infrastructure is really an opportunity because it reduces risks, but also there's a direct financial benefit from these investments. So here in this slide, you can see a comparison of costs of natural infrastructure versus traditional grey infrastructure options. So for different types of services, whether it's water treatment services, air purification, stormwater control, or shoreline protection. So there's a clear benefits in this type of investments. They are less costly. So financial benefits, because very often the initial capital investment is less important when you invest in a natural infrastructure. You need less. You don't need tanks, pipes, pumps, etc. So you've got a reduced initial capital investment very often. There's also, as a consequence, reduced operations and maintenance costs. Because you'll need also less chemicals, you'll need also less maintenance staff on site, etc. And as a consequence, you'll get a higher return on investment. So you've got less initial capital investment, less operation and maintenance costs, so a higher return on investment. And even for infrastructures like, for example, green roofs. A green roof is also a natural infrastructure. Some studies show that actually because you reduce the need for cooling in the buildings, and you reduce your energy consumption, and then you get also a good return on your investment. And then last, this type of projects also trigger innovation and new revenues for those companies that have understood that there's a business model behind all ecological engineering, and there's more and more companies that actually build their knowledge and their know-how in this field. But the benefits are not limited to just financial benefits. There's, of course, clear environmental co-benefits when investing in natural infrastructure. First, in terms of mitigation of emissions. Because, of course, if you got reduced energy consumption, then you'll have reduced GHG emissions, but also because when you reforest an area, of course, the trees will sequester more carbon. It helps also conserve resources. So these type of projects are less resource intensive, so less natural resources used, and it creates habitat, it restores ecosystems, it restores the connectivity between different habitats. So even in the case of a green roof, for example, you create some urban biodiversity habitat, and you can have some connectivity between different urban habitats as well. And ultimately, it enhances also public health, it increases livability. So if you think about parks or all green spaces in urban or even rural areas, these are recreational places, etc., and it's proven that it's linked to also increased public health. There's also social co-benefits of these projects in terms of operational safety. So these type of projects involve less driving, lifting, there's less noise, there's less machinery, hence less casualties. It also helps companies secure their social license to operate, because when companies engage with communities, for example, on the choice of the type of a natural infrastructure, it really helps strengthen the links with communities or the links with local authorities as well. And ultimately, it's an incredible opportunity to create new jobs, to develop skills, because there's really a need for new know-how, for new capacity, for people who know how to build this type of infrastructure. There's also opportunities for indirect job creation. If you think about restoring mangroves, that the mangroves will provide more fish habitat, and it will help also the fish industry as well. So, all of these elements are information that we're currently putting together into a natural infrastructure for business platforms that will launch early December. So on this online platform, you'll find business case studies, also information on the business case for investing in natural infrastructures that I just briefly presented, but there's much more information. Also tools and methodologies that can really help companies go through the process of this type of projects. And we're also developing a capacity building program that will be ready in April next year. So here you may wonder, what's the link really with valuation? Well, by investing in natural infrastructure, as I've mentioned, companies can get a return on, in terms of financial capital, but also environment, natural capital and social capital. But then companies may hesitate and may not know which type of investment is best and for which investments they get the highest return. So they may want to use valuation to make an informed choice. And they may want to, for example, value a grey infrastructure scenario versus a natural infrastructure scenario or a hybrid scenario, because in some cases, of course, natural infrastructure won't provide all the services that the companies is expecting, and mixing grey and green on natural infrastructure may be the way forward. So there's one methodology that could help companies do so and help companies value grey versus green infrastructure, and it's a natural capital protocol, which is currently being developed. And it's a standardized framework for business to measure and value its direct and indirect impacts and dependencies on natural capital. So here, when we talk about valuation, it's about qualitative and or quantitative and or monetary valuation. And there's really different business applications to valuation, and clearly valuing grey versus natural infrastructure scenarios is one of them, but making an environmental profit and loss account could be another application. And valuation, well, this protocol can be used at different organizational level within the company, whether it's at corporate level or at the product or at the site level as well. And it's applicable to all sectors across all geographies. So who's behind the natural capital protocol development? So there's two consortiums you can see many names. So the first consortium is led by WBCSD and is developing the core methodology. And the second one is led by IUCN and is developing sector guidance as well as engaging with business and currently actually pilot testing the first draft of the protocol. So the protocol will be ready in July next year. But very briefly, because I know that I've got limited time, this is what the draft framework looks like. So it's based on 4 overarching stages: the why, what, how, and so what, and 4 principles of valuation, which are relevance, rigor, replicability, and consistency. And then you've got 10 steps that you need to go through to carry out your valuation exercise. Last, about the journey to valuation, I really want to highlight that this natural capital protocol, the first objective of the protocol is to improve business decision making. You may want ultimately to report and then disclose the results, but the first objective is really about informing decision making. Then the protocol also offers a comparable process. It's really about the process of going through these different steps to value actually whatever you want to value. So it could be the grey versus natural infrastructure scenarios. Ultimately, what would be ideal is that we get comparable results, but the protocol, in its first version, won't help you have results that are comparable from one company to another. And there's still a long way to go, because to do so, you will need to have databases and we will need to agree on values, etc. So we still need to work on this aspect. And the ultimate goal is really integrated performance assessment, that companies systematically assess and integrate internally in the decision-making processes the natural capital values, but also the social capital values, so that they can really make decisions that take into account not only the financial returns on investment, but also the returns in terms of the natural capital value and social capital values that they create. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Violaine, for telling us something about the opportunities of natural infrastructure and also giving a glimpse into this complex process of developing the natural capital protocol. As a woman, of course, I noticed it was a male person with a saw on the tree at the beginning in your presentation. Well, 2 questions maybe from the floor now before. Yeah. One, the server there.
Thank you. My name is Matt Smith from the Joint Nature Conservation Committee in the United Kingdom. We're an agency that provides scientific and technical advice to central government, but also devolved administrations. We have a number of roles, but one of them is as a national data provider. So my direct question to, I suppose, all four people on the panel, although I've yet to hear the final presentation, is what more can national data providers do to expedite the take-up or indeed aid the application of natural capital accounting or indeed green infrastructure, nature-based solutions planning? In addition to that, how could that also help monitor the success of these programs? And could nationally available data help level the playing field between the global corporations, which we often see as examples here, and colleagues in the SMEs?
That's a very complex question. Either we manage to answer very briefly or we leave it for the discussion afterwards. Who wants to have a try? Yeah.
Well, this sort of precedes my presentation, but the concept that Karen did was to open source whatever we do, just like the Natural Capital Protocol is open sourcing to any company that wants to participate. So a big thing has been, I'll say in natural capital data, is that a lot of it's proprietary. Companies have been doing work in natural capital but not sharing it, of course, because sometimes they're large impactors like extractive industries or petroleum industries. So to open source that data is, I think, critical to having a level playing field that anyone can use these tools that we're talking about today. It still takes some expertise. There is a complexity behind them, but just like you can take out a thermometer and measure the weather, the temperature at least right now, which is a pretty good single metric for me, maybe whether it's sunny or not too. But whether you can actually do that kind of work, you need data behind it. So we have a lot of tools, but they require the sort of, we have the capabilities now with technology to crunch a massive amount of data in very little time. We use those tools ourselves, but you need the data underneath it. And, you know, the old saying is garbage in, garbage out. So you got to have good data to have actionable decision quality information.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial. One of the things that we've always talked about at the Coalition, there are kind of three big things. One is creating a framework that enables business managers to think about how on earth do I think about my impacts and dependencies. And then how do you create an enabling environment that gets businesses to want to use that? Because whilst everybody here might want to, there are plenty of businesses who might not. But the third thing is you need to have, really as almost as a public good, the data to input. Unlike many other business decisions which are kind of function through business data generated within the business, I think that in the case of natural capital there needs to be a publicly trusted source. So that not only can the public can see it and believe it, as it were, and they don't need to know the technicality, they just need to know that it's a trusted source. But so that it can be, I don't want to use the word audited or assured, but so that other people can verify that. So big investors, for instance, one of the pushes we've had from some of the big sophisticated investors is, yes, I think it's fabulous that businesses are using this framework, but then I want to see the data so I can make my decision to see whether they did it in the way I think they should have. So I think there's a massive role there in creating a public good.
Violaine, can you tell us in how far data availability and data access is an issue in the Natural Capital Protocol discussion? Is it an issue?
Maybe I'm not working on the Natural Capital Protocol per se, so I wouldn't be the best place to tell you about available databases, etc. But what I can say is that there's a need for more examples of how companies are using valuation in different ways and how it informs their decision-making process. Because it can also help trigger new initiatives and help companies understand that valuation is not an end in itself. It's really it really helps inform your decision making. But maybe on database, I guess that Tom will be a better place for me to.
Well, I mean, I concur with everything that's said, and it's definitely the direction of travel is towards open sourcing. Obviously, Kering have done a great job with their EP&L and other work, and as an organisation that sells data, we're very cognizant of all this as well. And I think, you know, it speaks volumes that we're seeing our business model in the short term as being people that help companies apply and interpret the data rather than sell the data itself. And I think that's significant because it shows, you know, how much this needs to be open, transparent, comparable, and all the rest of it.
Thank you. Michael, would you like to proceed with your corporate example? I think it's you have the last word. That's perfect.